Walks back to the office and slams the door. So it took forever trying to clean up all this sauce, so we probably ruined every mop in the restaurant trying to do it. By the time we cleaned it up, it was like 3 hours past the point Jim wanted us to leave. And the worst part was, the bucket he dropped was the last bucket of sauce we even had, because Miguel just dumped our last bucket on the floor, and all over himself. I checked the cabinet where we kept them, and they were all gone, not one left. So we had to take like 45 minutes to whip up a whole nother batch of sauce from scratch, which is a whole separate process, and then keep going until we finally finished the quota for the night. The quota that we were scheduled to finish by 9, but Jim wanted it done by 7, and now it's like midnight. We spilled I don't even know how much sauce on the floor at this point. Jim is furious with us, but it still gets worse, believe it or not. So right when we were finishing up, we finally got the sauces done. I don't even know what hour of the night or early morning it was at this point, but Jim was sweeping and mopping the floors by the cash registers, and he was just finishing them up. They were looking all clean and shiny, and right after I clocked out from my shift, I grabbed a Dr. Pepper to take home with me. And I turned around to walk out the door and just leave this night in the past, but one of my coworkers was for some reason walking backwards, so right when I turned around, neither of us could see each other, so I turned into him pretty forcefully, Jim is standing there above his shiny floors, mop still in hand, admiring his work. Floors are sparkling clean, and the way we bumped into each other caused the cup of Dr. Pepper to fly up and out of my hand, and I swear I saw this in slow motion, bro. It went flying, came down, and busted open all over the floors Jim had just finished mopping. Yup, Jim is burning my house down tonight for sure. And it's not like it was even anybody's fault, it was just an unlucky situation. I mean, a Dr. Pepper on the floor isn't even that big of a deal, but combined with everything else that had already gone down that night, the fact that it was Jim who just cleaned the floors and me who spilled the Dr. Pepper, this specific Dr. Pepper on the floor was extra bad. So yeah, he wrote me up twice that night, and I also found out later he wrote a note to the general manager asking him to fire both me and Miguel, but I guess the GM didn't go for that because I never did end up getting fired. Now, the very last memory I ever had of Jim was the last day I saw him, which was the day Jim actually got fired. That's right, oh how the turntables. Now Jim's the one needing to give one good reason why he shouldn't be fired. And basically, what Jim did to get fired was he got into an argument in the kitchen one day with this one kid. Ironically, it was actually with Nico from the time Jim told us to cook enough food to feed the entire city twice. And I don't know what they were arguing about, but one day I just hear Jim yelling at him about how he can't do his job, he's always messing up, and I walk into the kitchen to see what's going on, and they're all up in each other's faces. And Nico goes, well then why don't you do it if you're so good at it, and then takes his apron off and sticks it out to Jim as if to say, you know, you do my job then if you think you're so good at it. And I guess that really set Jim off because he takes both his arms and just shoves his hands into Nico's shoulders with his full body. body weight, sending him flying back right there in the middle of the kitchen, right in front of everybody. And in addition to the fact that Jim was a tall, pretty big grown man, Nico was a skinny kid who was still in high school. So when I say he went flying back, he went flying back and ended up on his back on the floor. And obviously, you can't do that in a workplace, especially if you're the grown man manager doing it to your high school kid worker. And so yeah, Jim's boss, I don't know, someone at corporate or something, they fired good old Jim for that one. But I will say, it was never a stale day working with that man. There was always some sort of something happening. And that's going to be the end of this video. I hope you guys liked the animation. I know this video took me a while to get out. It ended up being a lot longer than I first thought it would be, but I am working on hiring a team to help me with So back when I was around the age that you could first start to get hired for a job, myself, a lot of friends, and people I knew's first job would be at fast food restaurants, right? So I ended up knowing a lot of different people working at different fast food spots around the city. And this opened up a whole new world when it came to getting food from fast food places, because a lot of the time if you knew somebody who worked at the place, they'd slide you a discount, maybe even hook it up with some free food. I used to work at this chicken restaurant in the back in the kitchen, and I know people were constantly asking me to hook them up with free food. That restaurant really only sold chicken fingers, fries, and toast, so I would be fine with giving people that I knew extra food for free, and it was pretty easy to do so as long as the managers didn't get on my case about it, because if you're gonna give away food, the manager has gotta be okay with it, because if they're not and they catch you doing it, then get ready to be fired. I mean, I had some managers that could not care less if you gave away free food, and then there were others that if they saw you giving someone a singular extra fry on their order, they lose their mind, act like you committed a felony. And I worked with both of those types of managers and everybody in between. For example, I once had a manager that let us give a customer this massive pan of 50, as in 50, chicken fingers away completely for free just because we had that much extra food sitting around. And apparently that was okay, but on the flip side, I had another manager that saw one of my coworkers take 2 pieces of chicken for himself to eat on his break, also because because we had extra food sitting around, and he fired him for that because it wasn't company policy. Like seriously, the spectrum of to what extent the managers cared about this was unbelievable. So as long as I knew one of the chill managers was working the shift with me, I'd be able to hook people up with food left and right, no problem. And then those people would return the favor at whatever place they worked at. It was a win-win for everybody. That chicken restaurant also wasted enormous amounts of food because of how insanely picky they were about food quality. If stuff sat out for even a few minutes after it was made, we were required to just throw it straight to the garbage. Like I'm talking about pounds on pounds of food getting wasted every day, every hour. So especially if I knew it was just gonna end up in the garbage, I would sometimes end up giving it away for free, even to just random people who happened to be there at the time. I remember one night, one of the cooks, I don't know what type of feed the entire world mission he was on that night, but he made the biggest batch of chicken and we had like 2 customers to feed. So me knowing that most of this mountain of extra food is about to get tossed straight to the garbage. Instead of that, everybody that came in for the next little bit was about to get hooked up with some extra food on their orders. I mean, I know how I feel when I order an 8-piece nugget at Chick-fil-A or something, and when I open the box I find out they gave me 10 instead. So you know I'm about to use all this soon to be wasted food to make some people's days better also. So anyways, because fast food was such a common first job, eventually I started developing this network of people that I knew working at fast food joints across the city, so it would be fast food hookups on the regular. And it'd be mutual hookups too. Like, I'll come by today, you get me with a free burger. You come by tomorrow, I'll get you with some free chicken fingers. Like I said, it was a win-win. And usually these exchanges would go pretty well. For example, I had this friend that worked at a Dunkin' Donuts, and he used to come by for chicken all the time, and he said to come by his Dunkin' one day, he'll give me some free food and drinks. So I go in one afternoon, and he said just order the cheapest thing on the menu, and I got you with the hookup. So I walk in, order some random $2 drink, and then this man started shoveling like the entire stock of donuts, bagels, muffins, all